My name is Sarah Mussetter, and I compete every day against complacency.
Hungry but staying humble.
This is the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Each episode features people just like you, winning in their career, workouts, and life just like you want to. All because they've chosen to compete every day. Here's your host, Compete Everyday founder, Jake Thompson.
Sarah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
I'm glad to have you on. Thanks for working with us to reschedule. Give everybody that's listening, watching the show today a little bit of background on yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do. Just help us get to know you.
Cool. Okay. My name is Sarah. I live in Livingston, Montana, and I'm a teacher here at the high school. I'm also a gym owner for CrossFit Livingston and a graphic designer. And I have two cats. One is bugging me right now.
Get to hear it purring in the background. So you obviously have your hands full between everything when it's not summer vacation or holiday vacation. Tell us, one, how everything kind of started evolving with teaching and owning a gym and graphic design, and how do you keep your sanity balancing it all?
Questionable. So I've always been an artist, just growing up, and I went to school for art. And so I got a degree in teaching because I also like being around kids and just that phase in their life when everything's a possibility. And they haven't quite. I teach high school, so anywhere from 13 to 18. So it's an interesting age. A lot changes in those years. So I got into that, and so my life has been pretty stuck in front of an easel and things like that, and drawing, and kind of sedentary until I met my husband, who is a crazy mountain man. So he grew up in Montana running mountains and rock climbing and doing ultra marathons and crazy stuff like that. And strangely fell in love with a very sedentary art kid. So the part about movement kind of came in through that, but that's a longer story, I guess. So the teaching aspect came through that, always been interested in art. And then the gym part came when I was a part of CrossFit Livingston for 2 years, and the owners and coaches decided to sell. They were going to sell it on Craigslist. And so 5 of us members decided that instead of selling it to someone we didn't know, we were going to kind of band together and make our own kind of owners group. So that has been pretty cool. Just 5 of my best friends and we've decided to become business owners.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, working in a school setting with other teachers, other faculty, everybody kind of having an influence on each other, and then obviously owning a gym, it's similar. Do you find that? Do you have a lot of the skill sets and things you developed teaching that have been able to help you as that business owner?
Yeah. So in teaching, I've had to teach myself. I'm a pretty introverted person, strangely enough. And so I've had to teach myself kind of how to put on a different hat at work. And so that hat also works for coaching at a gym and owning a gym. So a lot of the time management, learning how to talk to people, especially people who are not necessarily always feeling they're most awesome. So when we have new members come in, I remember that feeling coming in. And so it's easier for me to kind of understand how scary it is when you're first starting to work out, just like it's first starting to learn a subject, or in my case, I teach credit recovery. And so if they fail the subject, kind of knowing that you're going in with a failure on your back and trying to help them grow that confidence again, has definitely translated into owning a gym. And kind of a lot of people were in that boat where maybe they were fit once, or they felt great once, or maybe they never have before. But that fighting off that failure feeling.
So I warned you before the show started that we wouldn't necessarily stick to the script.
Right.
You said something, we were going to chase it. So what you just said, I want to kind of dive in a little bit for everybody listening and watching, because at some point we all walk in with a failure. Some venture, relationship, something in our life does not go according to plan.
Yeah.
How do you kind of talk to those students or those new gym members entering a uncomfortable situation to ease them? Or what advice do you have for someone listening that's maybe in that spot and they just kind of need to get that first step?
I guess for my students, it's better to try something than to try nothing at all. I really try to fight this victim mentality that a lot of times we get, especially after repeated failure, is just like, oh, it wasn't meant for me, or I can't do that. And so trying to fight this feeling that you're a victim, because at the root of that is a belief that you're not worth it. And that's totally not true. And so talking to my kids about, believing that they're worth fighting for is really important. And I guess that translates to the gym as well. Just knowing that walking in is going to be the worst part of that time. It's just getting through that fear of getting through the door. Because working out and learning to compete is something that when you put in effort, you get something out of it. And there's a lot of things in life where you put in effort and nothing happens. Some days teaching. And so knowing that the work you're putting in is going to do something, and most of all, it's going to raise your confidence, because you're going to believe in yourself. And that's huge.
Yeah. It's amazing. I had a conversation with one of the podcast guests, James Leith, and we were talking about doing things and sometimes not seeing the fruit of that and the results of that. But you get 2 to 3 years down the road and you can look back at every single little action you took every day, slowly just building on each other. It's that compounding interest. That even when you don't see the results and you don't think you're getting through to a student, it's slowly planting those seeds that, for them, it may not hit until their 20s. And they're like, oh, I remember what she said and told me. And so you just keep planting those good seeds and doing that good work. Have you always kind of had this attitude to take action and go compete? And what was that turning point for you?
Definitely have not always been there. I lived in that victim mentality for a very long time. Just like multiple life changes and stuff like that, like parents getting divorced and all this stuff. Decided to cope by eating food, and got really, really big. And so it made movement hard, made life more difficult. And so I kind of just had resigned to the fact that that's how I was going to be. A couple different things helped change my mind. One was getting married to a crazy person, a good crazy. And then also marrying into a family that was like his sister threw in college for hammer and was on the boards for that. He was in track. And so activity was huge in their family. And so marrying into that family, it was kind of like, oh, you don't do that? Well, here, come with us. And so my sister-in-law signed me up for a 5K race, and that kind of kicked things off. It's just, okay. I bought one of those couch to 5K books, and I was like, okay, I can do this. There was a lot of cussing and screaming and yelling on the runs. Then my husband learned not to run with me. But over time it got easier, and I had so much fun at the fun run that it kind of triggered something in me where I'm like, oh, I can be an athlete. I can be active. It's not something that defines me anymore, this sedentary artist. And so it took people coming with me and believing in me, but also that belief in myself that I wasn't defined by my past.
I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations on that. I know it's made a world of difference in your life and obviously adds so much to your relationship with your family and your husband. Let me ask you, 2019 is upon us. What is something you're competing for or a goal you're pursuing this year?
Well, 5 days in, I'm going to do my first RX team competition, and I'm terrified, but it's going to be great. So kind of going in with that expectation that I know I'm not going to be winning, but I can now do the movements. And I've always promised myself, as soon as you can do the movements, you're going to try something, even if it's scary. And so we're going to do it on the 5th.
I love it. Starting the new year with a bang. Yeah. Okay. So for all the listeners, all the viewers watching the show today in the Facebook community, what is something you want them to know about you?
About me. is just, I guess, this idea that like athletes don't come in preconceived boxes, and that even if you're kind of a shy person, you can still rage at the gym. And so don't define yourself by your past. I did it for a long time. It was not worth it. It's better to live in the what if.
Man, I love that. Sarah, incredible advice, incredible wisdom for everyone listening. Thank you for encouraging us with that. Thank you for coming on the show this week.
Yeah, it's been fun. My name is Sarah Mussetter, and I'm an everyday competitor.
Thank you for listening to the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Visit www.competeforyour.life to learn how you can get connected with other competitors, contact the show, and find free resources to help you compete every day in life.